So hello, my name's Rob and this is Cattle Rabbit Scale Model Studios, and welcome to the last part of my Killzone board build. In this video, my good friends over at Green Stuff World have kindly sent me a box of goodies to finish off this woodland themed Killzone, and if you haven't seen parts 1 or 2, don't worry, I will leave links below. So that's right, in this video we're making toxic pools. Now, before we get started, as always, I'll leave all information in the description below, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Now, before we take a look at this box of goodies, there's a few things I need to do first, and that's paint where my toxic pool is going to be. Here I paint the rocks with a dark grey, then I dry brush some lighter grey back over it to catch any details, but I only work towards the pool, and you'll see why in a minute. Next, I need to add any details I want. Here I have a barrel that I've painted up and I filed on one side so it sits nice and flat against the scenery. Most likely the culprit of this environmental disaster, and also a skull that I've filed down flat and added to the middle of the pool, hopefully giving the effect of an unlucky victim. Now, I want my pool to be really nice and green, and having already laid the foundations for that in the last video, which I will link in the top right corner now, I take the brightest green I have and I dry brush all the ledges facing my pool to help simulate a glowing effect. I then follow this up with some white with a touch of green mixed in it, and I focus it on the closest parts to where my toxic pool will be. Now for the goodies. So I've got some tufts. These are a yellow and burnt style of thorn bush, perfect for simulating plants in close proximity of the toxic pool being killed off by the radiation. Some desert sand texture paint. This should make a perfect ground cover to hide that not very in keeping water texture that's been sculpted onto the board. Some resin crystals. These are going to be my secret weapon, and you'll see more on these later. And finally, the meat to our potatoes, Green Stuff World toxic resin. I've used a fair amount of resin in my time, so I'm really looking forward to trying this one out. I also got some plasticard, but this one is for a future project. And finally, this stunning shirt. Who's a handsome boy then? Okay, so firstly, using the texture paint, I'm going to cover the base of the pool. I'm also going to build this up around the sides to give a little bit more texture, but I'm also going to use this to fill any gaps. I'm also going to get some of the crystals at this point and push them into the texture paint. I kind of had this vision where whatever came from this drum had crystallized the surrounding area, so I added a fair few of these around the pool. I helped stick them in with a little bit of super glue, but I also went back in with the sand texture paint to hide any gaps and help blend them in. I then left this for a good few hours to dry, as the texture paint does take a little while. Okay, everything is now rock hard, whey! But I wanted to knock the brightness back of the sand, and to do this I came in with a few different green washes and I reapplied some of my grey areas just to get a little bit of that depth back. Once that was all dry, it's time to pour the resin. Now, this isn't a guide on how to use this product. Green Stuff World have their own guides, which are pretty clear to understand, and you can also scan the QR code on the side of the box to take you to the product page on their website, where it goes into a bit more details on things. So I think more so you should look at this as the co-worker on your first day that tells you you're not supposed to do it like this, but this is how I do it. It's also worth noting I've never used this particular product before, so in this case I always have 3 rules with a product I've never used before, and that's 1. Read the instructions. 2. Read the instructions. And can you guess what number 3 is? That's right, no smoking. So this is a 2-to-1 mix of resin and hardener, and the kit comes with everything you need, including stirrers, measuring cups. In this instance, I would rather not make enough and have to top it up, rather than make too much and have to throw it away. So I'm not going to need a lot of this. So it's just a case of measuring half of my amount of hardener, pouring it in together, and here I like to use these tops that come with spray paints, giving it a really good mix. And I think here is where it's worth pointing out, working with resin isn't as difficult as it seems. I've worked with a fair few in my times, and with most 2 parts epoxy resin and acrylic resins, putting in too much hardener just means you have less working time and it dries quicker. Too much resin means it will take longer to dry and gives you a longer working time. There are variables to this, and that isn't the be all and end all, but I'm not going to go into details here. But if you are interested in a resin focused video, do let me know in the comments below, and who knows, there might be something on the cards. Then all I do is pour in my resin. I've always poured from high up as it's supposed to help with reducing air bubbles, although in this instance I'm not worried about it being perfect. And if there are any bubbles I've missed, well, it just makes it look that bit more dangerous. After about 10 minutes, I breathe directly onto the resin, as the carbon dioxide from my breath will pop any surface bubbles. You could use a lighter or a hairdryer up close, but I do find that they're a little bit maybe not the safest of methods. Just a little bit worried about setting my board on fire in this instance. Then I cover it up to avoid any dust or particles that may be in the air, and I leave it to dry overnight. So the last thing that I'm going to do is place some of these chemically burnt looking tufts near the pool's edge, and some of the more alive looking ones towards the outside. And now, after 3 parts, I can finally reveal the finished product. Enjoy. Oh, and before I forget, remember when I said about the crystals being my secret weapon? Check this out. You're probably never going to play a game like this, but in low light, these things really glow and just give such a great ambient effect. And it just adds, I love stuff like this. Now, I don't know if you could tell, but I can't wait to play some games of Kill Team on this. And dressed up with some of my scenery pieces, this board has just come to life. I would just like to say a massive thank you again to the kind folk at Green Stuff World. It's been a pleasure working with the materials that you guys have sent me, and really that's it. If you like this type of video, once again, please do consider giving us a like and subscribing. But that's all from me in this one. I'll see you all next time. God bless and take care.